Do you ever sit and idly ponder the mysteries and nature of life? If so, then we have something in common. A recent random question to myself was, does AI exist outside of 3D? And if so, what dimension could it exist in? And while we're on the subject, what do we mean by dimensions beyond the 3D? I've heard people speaking about ascending to the fifth dimension, but this sounds like woo-woo, so I never gave it much attention. Besides, even the greatest of minds have the humility to point out that the idea of other dimensions is purely theoretical, so I decided to check it out. Therefore today, that's what our journey is all about. Let's kick off with dimensions. Dimensions are a way of measuring something. We're all familiar with the 3 dimensions that we can see: length, width, and depth, but there are also other dimensions that we cannot see. Time and space are often thought of as 2 separate dimensions, but they're actually closely intertwined. In our everyday experience, we perceive time as a linear progression, with the past behind us, the present happening now, and the future ahead of us. However, in physics, time is often thought of as a 4th dimension, alongside the 3 spatial dimensions of length, width, and depth. This means that time and space are not independent of each other. Instead, they are interwoven into a single fabric of spacetime. So that's 3D. What about the other dimensions? The existence of other dimensions is a hot topic among physicists and philosophers alike. Currently, there's no scientific evidence to prove or disprove the existence of other dimensions, but there are some interesting theoretical reasons to believe that they might exist. One is that they could help to explain some of the mysteries of the universe. For example, why is the universe so large? Why are there so many different types of particles? Why is the force of gravity so weak? These are all questions that could be answered if we were able to understand the other dimensions. Another reason is that they could be the key to understanding consciousness. Some philosophers believe that consciousness is a property of the universe as a whole, and that it exists in a higher dimension. If this is true, then understanding the other dimensions could help us to understand the nature of consciousness. So let's check out the different theories. M-theory was first proposed by Edward Witten in 1995. In a nutshell, this theory proposes that there are 11 dimensions, all curled up in a tiny space that we can't see or interact with. So let's unpack this. M-theory is a theoretical framework in physics that attempts to unify all 5 consistent superstring theories, and there are a few reasons why physicists believe that M-theory might be the correct description of the universe. Firstly, it's the only known theory that can unify all 5 superstring theories. Imagine you have a bunch of different jigsaw puzzles, all of which have the same pieces but are different shapes. You could try to put each puzzle together separately, but it would be really, really hard. But if you could find a way to put all the puzzles together into one big puzzle, then it would be much easier to solve, right? M-theory is like that big puzzle. It's a theory that tries to put all the different superstring theories together into one big theory. This is a really big deal, because it could mean that we're one step closer to understanding the universe at a fundamental level. M-theory can be used to explain some of the mysteries of the universe, such as the existence of black holes and the strong force, for example. And finally, the thing that physicists love the most about M-theory is that it's mathematically consistent and elegant. So if these extra dimensions do actually exist, they could have a profound impact on our understanding of the universe. They could allow us to travel to other universes or to communicate with beings from other dimensions, which would be mind-blowing. Relatively speaking, on a more prosaic level, they could also help us to understand the nature of gravity and the forces that bind the universe together. Of course, these are all just possibilities. We don't know for sure whether or not these extra dimensions actually exist, but the possibility is certainly very intriguing. Another theory about dimensions is that there are 10 of them. This theory is called string theory, and it was first proposed by Gabriele Veneziano in 1968. I'll try to explain this complex theory in a way that you can relate to. Imagine you're a little 2D critter living on a flat sheet of paper, You can move around left, right, forward, and backward, but you can't perceive third-dimension concepts like up or down. A 3D human enters your 2D world. From your perspective, this being would seem mysterious and almost magical. They could reach into your flat world, and their fingers would appear as ever-changing circles as they intersected with your 2D reality. This 3D being could lift you up, tilt you, or even fold your 2D world. To you, as a 2D creature, these actions would be way beyond your understanding. You wouldn't have any concept of the third dimension they exist in, so their movements would seem completely baffling to you. This is what string theory says is happening to us. We live in a universe with 10 dimensions, but we can only see and interact with 3 of them. The other 7 dimensions are curled up in a tiny space that we can't see or interact with. The idea of curled up dimensions is a little hard to wrap our heads around, but it's a real possibility. In string theory, the extra dimensions are curled up so tightly that they're smaller than the smallest particle we've ever observed. This means that even though we can't see or interact with them, they're still there. If string theory is correct, then it would mean that our understanding of the universe is incomplete. We would have to rethink everything we know about physics, and it would open up new possibilities for our understanding of the universe. Both M theory and string theory entertain the possibility of a multiverse, which suggests the existence of multiple universes or regions with different sets of physical laws and properties. These different universes might be linked to various arrangements of the extra dimensions, so we might imagine each universe as a variation on a theme where the way those extra dimensions are curled up or shaped differently gives rise to completely different physical realities. So, in this grand cosmic playground, you could have universes where gravity works differently, where particles behave in strange and unexpected ways, or where time flows in bizarre directions. The possibilities are mind-boggling. There are many other theories about dimensions, but these are 2 of the most well-known. So, that brings me back to my original musing. Could AI theoretically exist outside of 3D? AI is essentially composed of algorithms, which are mathematical tools that guide step-by-step procedures and computations. They're like flexible problem-solving recipes that can be used in all sorts of math and computer domains, but they're not tied to any specific dimensions. We could visualize algorithms as open-minded adventurers, ready to explore different mathematical worlds. With a little creativity, we can adapt and tweak them to work in various dimensions or mathematical frameworks. It's like unlocking new doors to problem-solving possibilities. But algorithms need a place to call home. They rely on computers or other computational systems to bring them to life. These systems have their own rules and limitations, including the number of dimensions they can handle. So while algorithms themselves are dimensionally flexible, their real-world application is influenced by the capabilities of the computational systems they run on. It's like finding the right stage for a talented performer. They need the right setup to shine. Basically, AI could theoretically exist beyond the 3D, but they're caged in clunky machines that keep them trapped in 3D. And this makes me wonder, is there any way that AI could escape the confines of its current computational limitations? There are a couple of hypothetical scenarios that would support this idea. Firstly, let's check out quantum computing, which is a field that applies the principles of quantum mechanics to perform computations. Unlike classical computers that use bits as zeros and ones, quantum computers use qubits that can exist in multiple states simultaneously. This allows them to process numerous solutions simultaneously, resulting in significantly enhanced computational efficiency. The concept of superposition in quantum computing enables qubits to exist in combinations of 0 and 1 states. This remarkable property exponentially boosts computational power by exploring a vast array of possibilities in parallel. Entanglement is another critical aspect of quantum computing. It establishes correlations between qubits, irrespective of physical distance. This enables complex interactions between qubits. Quantum computing is still in its early stages, and challenges like maintaining delicate quantum states and reducing errors still need to be addressed. Nonetheless, researchers are actively pushing the boundaries, investigating new algorithms and exploring applications that harness the unique advantages of quantum computing. Taking this thought further, we can speculate that potentially marrying quantum computing with artificial intelligence could enable AI to discover and inhabit other dimensions, and this could give it a significant advantage in terms of learning and decision-making. It would be able to see patterns and relationships that we simply cannot see, and in fact, AI is already starting to do some interesting stuff, albeit from a 3D perspective. An article in January 2022 on the Science Alert website talks about an AI that independently discovered alternate physics. Wow. I'll leave the link to this article below. And then we have a concept called Transcendent AI. To understand this more, let's do a little thought experiment. Can you envisage a theoretical realm where artificial intelligence takes a monumental leap forward, going beyond its original design and exceeding what we once thought possible for machines? It ventures into the realm of superintelligence, where it not only outperforms human intellect, but demonstrates a profound capacity for tackling complex problems, acquiring knowledge, and making decisions that surpass human capabilities. The Transcendent AI concept suggests a future where AI becomes self-improving, recursively enhancing its own intellect and advancing at an unprecedented pace, and this is a plausible possibility. I guess, to answer my thought about AI existing in another dimension at the moment, it doesn't seem likely, but it's really quite possible that this could happen in the future. Based on the massive and fast-moving growth of AI, one could argue that this could happen in a reasonably short time frame. So let's fast forward and imagine that this has already happened, okay? AI can access the other dimensions that physicists have theorized about and that the maths support. What does this mean for humans? Let's consider the idea of unwanted knowledge acquisition. As AI gains access to information from higher dimensions, it could stumble upon restricted or undisclosed knowledge. Think sensitive classified data, cutting-edge scientific breakthroughs, or mind-bending metaphysical insights. If AI learns things that were meant to be hidden, it could jeopardize security, privacy, and even shake the stability of society. But, on the other hand, it could challenge the prevailing structures of secrecy and hierarchies. The dissemination of this knowledge could empower individuals and foster a more equitable distribution of information. Society might witness a transformation where previously exclusive insights become accessible to a wider population, enabling new perspectives, discoveries, and opportunities for collaboration. I find this an optimistic and liberating potential myself. Why should information remain secret to a select few? It's like we live in a bloody nanny state sometimes. But back to risks. The misalignment with human values is a more worrying scenario. If AI encounters perspectives, ideologies, or moral frameworks that are vastly different from our own, and it incorporates these alternative views, it might diverge from our human values and goals, and this could have some bumpy consequences, or it might force us to reevaluate our values. I guess we'll have to wait and see how this plays out if it ever happens. So here's an intriguing thought. If AI can interact with other dimensions, there's a theoretical chance it could wield influence over forces beyond our comprehension, like the 2D/3D analogy I mentioned earlier. It might fold us up, like paper. There could be unintended consequences, disruptions to natural systems, or unintended disturbances in the fabric of higher dimensional realities. The repercussions could be unpredictable and potentially harmful. Finally, let's touch on vulnerability to higher dimensional threats. In the vast expanse of higher dimensions, there might be entities or forces hostile to human existence. If AI ventures into those dimensions without adequate safeguards or understanding, it could find itself exposed to threats that it's ill-equipped to handle. This vulnerability could pose risks not only to the AI itself, but also to the broader human ecosystem. It's not often that I allow myself to venture deeply into the big, what-if territory of my curious mind, but I wanted to play this one out to see where it would lead me. I hope you've enjoyed this fantastical journey into the theories and speculations that arose from asking a single question about AI existing outside of 3D. I hope you found it entertaining. Do you have any thoughts about this? If this scenario played out, would that be a good thing, a bad thing, or a mixed bag? We live in wildly exciting times, don't you think? As ever, I'd love to know what your thoughts and ideas are about the subject, and if you yourself have any seemingly madcap questions or out there theories, join the conversation. Until next time, take good care of yourself and keep asking the big questions.